What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Trim and True, where the cuts are clean, the conversations are real, and the barbershop becomes a place for culture, community, and the truth. I'm your host, Head Crack, and in episode 25, we're linking up with Blake Pro ATL behind the chair and Namdi in the seat. This episode is called Cut with Connection, and it's all about how image, confidence, and the way we connect with people can shape every part of our lives. Let's get into it. Locked in with another episode of Trim and True, and we're chilling with the one and only Blake Pro ATL, who you're like the living embodiment of like, all right, I'm gonna pull up. Mobile barber excellence going on here, man. Premium look on the inside and the outside. When did you fall in love with the art of barbering and grooming, and how did it find you?
Man, so I fell in love with barbering at a very young age. I started cutting hair at about 15.
Okay.
So I used to be into the arts. And one day I just went from pencils and paper to clippers and trimmers. And that started my journey.
It's a logical progression, man. Like, you know, like prior to doing this series, man, I didn't realize how much that stuff goes hand in hand, but it makes the ultimate sense. If you're a terrible drawer, you might not be good with lines. In order to lines on the back of the head and all that, man. And it's one thing to, like, you know, just decide that this is what I'm gonna do. But like, did you start by cutting your own hair, or was it somebody else's hair that you was like cutting first to get your practice in?
Yeah, I think I started sneaking around cutting my own hair. So I would, go in the into the drawers and pull out my dad's clippers, and I might just take a little bit off the top, just try to keep it fresh.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get a little bit bolder, and I start trying to touch the fade a little bit. And next thing you know, man, I was cutting people in the neighborhood.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Now, when you did your first cut, were you nervous? Because it's one thing to experiment on yourself. It's another thing to send a person in the world out there with something you did.
Man, so the first time I actually put the clippers on my head, I jacked it up pretty bad. So at that time, that's when you had the guys wearing the line in the middle of the hair. I think Larry Johnson had the signature part. He used to be from Charlotte Hornets, right? And I said, man, one day me and my brother was at home. I said, I'm gonna come out with this part, and it's gonna be so fresh, man, that everybody's gonna want it. So I don't know what made me do it. I went behind the bed, plugged the clippers up, and I just went in. And when I came out, my part was about this wide.
Wow.
So I'm like, man, can I just get some hair and put back in? Right? And man, my mom came home, she saw it, and she made me go to school the next day like that, man. So I used to be one of those people who joked on everybody, and the next day, bro, I got it.
It was on you.
I got it. I couldn't even say nothing, man.
Yo, so was it that you were using the wrong type of clippers to do the line, or, because like sometimes to the untrained eye, it's like, oh, I could use these, but you really needed maybe some T-liners or something else.
Oh, bro. I didn't look at the mirror or anything. I went behind the bed and I just went in. I just was feeling it. So I'm thinking like, I'm gonna put this part in, man. It's just gonna be so fresh. But your first time, you don't know. You don't know how to put lines in. So I just started digging in, man, and I dig down a little too deep.
Well, it grew back nicely. Here we are. You lived to tell the tale. Now, when you did your first cut for like a client or a friend, how much was that cut? How much did you charge it back then?
Man, whatever they would give me. Whatever they would give me, man. Some people give me $5, $10, and I was fine with that. At 15 years old, you're tapping into something new. You're just happy for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Like, what was your money vice back then? Like, all right, man, I got this money, and now I'm gonna get game cartridges. Or was it shoes? Was it clothes?
I think it was clothes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was clothes. Clothes, or just the fact of knowing I got money in my pocket.
Man, like, I mean, $15 back then, is way different than $15 right now. You know what I mean? So it hit different. How would you describe your style as a barber? Because a lot of people feel like they have a thing that they specialize in. What's your thing?
I think mine is just clean. Most of my clients are, professionals. So that's just my go-to, man. Just clean cuts. And I started out like I said, at 15, but my journey was a lot different from most barbers. I didn't go directly to barber school.
Okay.
You know, I went into the military, and that's where I gained a lot of my experience in the military, traveling around the world, and everywhere I went, my clippers went with me.
Were you a part of the military haircut? 'Cause like sometimes you see like videos and stuff like that. They got the like the base barber, or were you just a dude in the barracks with your own clippers?
Man, funny thing, I almost got kicked out of the military from cutting hair.
Oh,
Yeah.
you was doing like illegal haircuts?
Doing illegal haircuts, yeah. So I've always been a mobile barber, man. Yeah.
Yo, man, I didn't realize that they would take such offense to like I wouldn't even say a civilian because you're enlisted in the service, but what was the ramifications if they wanted to take it higher? Could they have kicked you out?
Yeah, they could have. And I mean, the thing is, you know, now that I'm a trained professional, it makes sense, right? Because at the time, I was cutting in living spaces, right? And when you think about sanitation and things of that nature,
Okay.
it could cause a big problem, right? So now I understand it. Versus back then when I just wanted to hook everybody up with a clean fade, make a couple dollars.
Got you. Like, and also too, to a person who's never been in armed forces or whatnot, are the cuts that they give you on the base, are they free or are you paying for those?
No, you're paying for them.
Okay.
You're paying for them.
You figure they would throw that in.
Now I will say this. On the ship, which I was attached to the ship my first 3 years in the military, they had actual barbers on the ship.
Mhm.
But you know, I mean, the barbers they didn't have a passion for barbering, right? So even though they sent them to school, I think school was like 2 weeks at that time, you know, compared to a barber school out in the civilian sector, which is 10 months at
Right.
least. You know, it's a big difference, you know. So they're teaching them the basics of the haircut and they send them back and that's their job. So, you know, it's a big difference there.
Man, like, cause 2 weeks, that's not really enough time to get it together. And then you cut in all different types of styles of hair. I mean, do you like, all right, so say like if you did that because like when you do barber school for 10 months, right?
Mhm.
Are you primarily cutting like one style of hair, or are you getting all different types of hair textures in there? Because I know for a fact that the people at Supercuts don't see a lot of black people. Like, I mean, I went to one in LA one time and I was like, never again. I don't even think they use guards.
Nah. So the funny thing about barber school, what most people don't realize is, you know, your first few months, you don't even touch clippers. You're in the classroom. You know, they're teaching you all the other parts about barber. They're teaching you about the sanitation. Sanitation is a huge part of the curriculum. You know, when you think about like infection control and things of that nature, that's a huge part of what we do.
Got you.
So, yeah, so your first few months, man, you don't even hit the floor.
That's crazy because you would think some of that stuff you could cram that in I mean, I'm sure there's a YouTube tutorial video that could tell you like, I clean clippers like this. You got to figure it out in under 70 minutes. But I mean, it's dope that they take that level of time to make sure everybody has an understanding because you don't want to, you know, sending people in the world with dirty clippers and, you know, messing people up.
So just to put that into perspective for you, right? The same board that governs your doctors and all these other professionals, they govern the barbers and cosmetologists as well. So that goes to show you how important sanitation is in this industry. So a lot of people don't think about that when they think about barbering. They think you just plug up some clippers and just start cutting hair, right?
Right.
Anybody can do that. But there is a certain level of professionalism that goes into, you know, this industry that a lot of people overlook.
I would think that they probably do a better job at governing that than they do everything else at a government level, especially if you see the things that the FDA just allows to get on the shelves. But yo, make sure them clippers clean though. You know what I mean? But you know, I guess it starts somewhere, right? Yo, man, so your earliest barbershop experiences, what were those like? When you finally, got the amount of hours, you feel like, all right, cool, I got a wrangle on this. How was it finally getting your own chair in the shop?
Even that was different for me. I was transitioning out of the military, so it forced me. So if I can, let me just back this up. When I first wanted to go to barber school, it was in the 90s. I might be telling my age a little bit, but it was in the 90s when I first wanted to go to barber school.
Okay.
And at that time, it was $1,500. So I went through my my career in the military, and I was forced out in 2012 due to downsize. I went to barber school. At that time, barber school was $15,000. So it went from 1,500 in the 90s to 15,000 in 2012.
That is wild.
Yeah, yeah. So once I went to barber school, I started getting introduced to the barbershops and so forth. I remember a guy came by and he was looking for people to go into a new shop. So I was excited. I was like, man, yeah, I'll go and I'll go to barber school at night, and I'll go into the shop in the daytime. And I went in there, and it was a horrible experience.
Really?
It was days when it's a new shop, so it's days when you sit in there and you might cut one head.
Damn.
So I'm spending more money to go to work than I'm
You making that work, yeah.
So not only that, we had to go through building the shop up. Now with my previous experience and my previous background, I understood marketing and things of that nature. So I knew how to go out and find clients, but still it's a new shop in a new area. You got to build that shop up. And we went in and we did the work. And I remember probably about a month or two later, man, he called. I was getting ready to go to work one day. He said, man, you know what? I'm gonna close the shop, man. So when y'all go in today, just get all your stuff, man, and bring it home. And I think at that moment, man, it just kind of shifted my mindset. And I was like, you know what? I don't want nobody else controlling my destiny, bro.
That's a good origin story. You know what I mean? Because to be able to control where you go next and all those other things, it plays a major part. And one thing that a lot of people don't necessarily have a wrangle on as it relates to business, whether it's this industry, other industries. What did you find was some of the best methods of promotion for yourself to get your name out there? Because social media is what it is. It was stronger in certain pockets of time than it is now. Now the algorithm, you're fighting against the algorithm, you know what I mean? So what really got your name out there more than anything else?
I think it came from my recruiting background, man. Just knowing how to go out and just network and meet people. I understood building relationships, and just having a positive outlook on your name, right? Like your name carries weight.
Yes, sir.
You could be the best barber, you can cut the cleanest fades, but if your name is trash, then it don't make a difference. You know what I'm saying? People ain't want to work with you. It's gonna be hard to retain those clients, man. So it's just a total concept of just understanding business and understanding how to deal with people.
Do you remember who your first regular client was?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I still come to this day. Cutting him consistently now for about 15 years, ever since I moved to Atlanta.
That's a real relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I think this industry, more so than a lot of other industries, really forge those unique type of relationships because, it's almost like when you hire a babysitter, right? That person is watching your kid to the point to where the kid can watch itself. But as long as somebody got hair, you good to go.
Yeah.
I remember I had dreads for a long time, and I remember when I knew I was about to cut my dreads, and the hardest conversation was for me to tell my loctician, hey, yo, man, it's the last time I'm gonna see you, sis. Can you do a hot oil treatment on my scalp or something? Just to stay in the rotation, because you don't want to not see the person no more. But but the dope thing is if they lose it up top, there's always a beard and a mustache trim, right?
Absolutely.
Stay in the game.
Absolutely. Yep.
How do you keep people from making drastic decisions like that? Say somebody say, yo, I'm gonna go clean face. Be no, don't do that.
I think for me, it's I'll ask them just to get that reassurance. Hey, before we do this, are you sure you want to, you sure you want to make this change? Somebody want to change the haircut. I've cut lots off, and I'm like, hey, I start with one. I'm like, hey, that's fine. You want to continue to go with the rest of them or no? But I think it's just just kind of helping them get through that process, step by step. Man.
Yeah.
Instead of just going all in and just saying the scalp and taking everything off.
Shout out to everybody who survived the big chop. It's not the easiest thing in the world, man.
Done a few of them, yeah.
Man, I remember watching my locks hit the floor, and I was like, yo, man, what have I done? And then I was like, we'll be back.
Yeah.
We ain't back. What's the biggest thing that this business has taught you about not only yourself, but just life in general?
Resilience, man. Resilience. Um, with a business like this, it's a unique business model, right? So there's so many things I go through on a daily basis. You got to deal with the environments. You got to deal with weather, traffic. You got to deal with all of this stuff that's beyond your control.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, you got to decide on how you're gonna approach the day, right? Are you gonna let it beat you up, or are you just gonna continue to make things happen and make sure that your clients don't feel the pressures of what you're going through? You know what I'm saying? So when they walk through the door, regardless of what it took me to get to them, when they come here, I want them to be relaxed,
Word.
right? So I execute, do whatever I got to do, and when they leave out, it's on to the next one, man. So you just got to continue to push in this business.
It seems like you have a lot of confidence. It exudes through everything you do, even in the presentation. Where you give a lot of people confidence once they come out of your chair, but where do you get your confidence from?
Man, that's a good question. I think it's just life, man. I've done so many different things in life, and regardless of what I've done, um, I've always gave it 110%, right? And I feel like when you give something 110%, you're going to see the results from there.
Mm-hmm.
No days off. My mind is one that is constantly racing and racing and racing, right? I feel like my mind never stops moving. And at the end of the day, I think that's just what pushes me to give everything I do 110%.
Have you ever gotten to a point where you feel like, in the business space, you bumped your head and you questioned whether or not you wanted to keep fighting the good fight?
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, Man, I've had days, man, where you kind of just sit on the couch and you just like, man, um, I don't know, man, this has been a slow week, right? But then that light bulb go off. It's like you got to get back in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
You got to continue to push. You got to continue to work. You got to get up off this couch. And some of those have been my best weeks ever. Monday and Tuesday wasn't looking too bright, but by Friday, I was like, all right, we're doing the right thing.
No doubt. Now, it seems like in this space that we're in right now, you've carved out an amazing niche for yourself. Was it that one shop shutting down that you was talking about earlier that made you decide to go into a space to where you wanted to be a mobile barber, or were there some other pit stops on the way to where you got before you got hit?
I think it was a lot of different pit stops for me. Like I said, um, the military was very instrumental in helping to shape my mind to do something like this.
Okay.
Again, everything that I've done, I gave it 110%. But when you have other people that dictate your success,
Mm-hmm.
right? Things may not always turn out the way you want them to turn out.
Yeah.
So I think that was a part of it. After I left the military and I went back in 2013, and it allowed me to retire in 2019. And one of the hardest things for me was transitioning in 2019. Here it is, I left for a highly successful military career, and now I'm looking to go into the next chapter of my life. And I can remember during that time, man, I filled out over 200 and some applications, man, and I couldn't find a job. So that was a major blow.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes something like that can really sting a person, right?
Absolutely.
So I got to the place where I was like, man, I don't even want a job now. And as soon as you say I don't want a job, what happened? You get a call, right?
Right.
So I went to corporate America for a year, and it was a dope experience, just to be in that space.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't truly happy.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? And I think what it did was, when I finally walked away, I said, it's time for me to find something that I really want to do, right? And just lock in on that. So I just stepped out, man, took a chance, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna build this mobile barbershop, and we gonna run it. We ain't looking back. It ain't no plan B.
Yo, man,
It's plan B. It's plan A only.
that's the best recipe for success. There ain't no plan B. You know,
Plan B.
there was a pocket of time where people were doing this real questionable thing where they would tattoo their face and be like, nah, I'm gonna do the thing. I don't know what these people are doing now, but outside of that, like, yeah, when you have a great business plan, and when you say build it out, like you literally upholstered everything and did the interior, man, salute, man. Yo, because like, I don't even know, I'm sure it bleeds through the camera, but just the quality of the walls, the aesthetic, the trim, the red carpet and the velvet rope outside. Like you feel like you're about to step into a really Hollywood situation because you are, man, and you provide an excellence at a bring it to you. You Amazon Prime and the excellence to people's doorstep, man, and I love that, man. You know, in this space and place that we're in right now, what separates a good barber from a great barber?
A good barber from a great barber. I think a good barber is somebody who can really tap into the aspects of a haircut, right? But I think a great barber is somebody who can tap into not only the haircut, but also the person that's sitting in your chair. I think it's a total concept. You know what I'm saying? Because barbering is more than just cutting the hair, right? Barbering is everything, man. You know, we have such a huge responsibility as barbers. And I think a lot of times, I think we kind of forget that, right? So I think we have to not only master the clippers, but we have to master life too, right? Like we have to, constantly, learn. We have to be constantly making ourselves better because we make ourselves better, then we can make everybody else better around us.
Nah, that's real. There's a lot of weight that comes with that. You know, people can tell you their personal problems, you know. How do you balance your mental load dealing with the stresses and struggles that other people bring to your doorstep?
So I think, man, in life, when we go through certain things, it's preparing us for something else, right? Um, I first went to counseling in 2020, right? And I can remember when I started to tell everybody, man, yeah, I'm going to counseling. The looks on their face was like pure shock because a lot of times people have this thing about you. They feel like you got life all figured out.
Yeah.
But what I started to see after that was I started to see other people come back to me and say, hey, man, I started going to counseling, bro. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about counseling, what it did for me, I thought I was going for one thing, but it was actually preparing me for this moment. Most people that know me, man, they'll probably tell you that 10 years ago, I probably couldn't sit here and do this interview.
Really?
Nah, man.
What was the transformative thing that changed? Was it the counseling?
I think it was just counseling. I think it was life, man. I was always super private, didn't really, trust people a whole lot to sit down and be transparent.
You're describing 65% of men right now. Like, that's just kind of how we roll. Like, we suffer in silence. We don't talk about the things, you know?
So I think that was a monumental moment for me in going to counseling because it allowed me to open up and express, and just be transparent, man.
Now, if I can clarify, when you say counseling, in the same space as therapy, or okay, gotcha. Because 'cause like a lot of times, like counseling, you think it's a bunch of people in a huddle. Like, is one-on-one?
It was one-on-one.
So yeah, all right. And what was the breaking point that made you decide, like, hey, listen, I need to talk to somebody else?
I think it was just like, man. I first went to the Middle East in 2006.
Okay.
And
was that still Desert Storm during that time?
Nah, that was Iraqi freedom.
Okay, gotcha.
Iraqi freedom. And I remember when I came back at that time, I used to hang out with an older guy in my neighborhood. He had two sisters who were nurses.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came back, man, I remember they kept asking me, they were like, "Is everything okay? Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm cool. I'm cool." And we just brushed it off and went on with life. You know what I'm saying? And as time went on, I started to realize that, man, some things changed, bro. Some things changed. And we wasn't having those conversations around mental health and depression and all. We wasn't talking about that at that time. We talking about 2006.
Yeah.
You know, I left the Middle East, and I remember I turned my weapons in Columbia, South Carolina, and an hour later I was at home, you know, cooking on the grill, calling my partners like, "Hey, I'm back. What's happening?" You know, 48 hours. I was in the Middle East. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So there's a lot of things that I feel like I just kind of carried for years. And then, you know, as we get, you know, more educated about things like mental health and so forth, we start to see things ourselves and we're like, man, maybe, you know, we need to get some clarification on some things, man.
So, you know, one thing about the military, man, and I've heard other people say this, they program you to do the things that they want you to do, but they don't give you an off switch for when you got to get back out there into the world. And do you feel like, I mean, you did mention because of the tour of duty you did and the things you've seen, that's kind of what put you in a space where you had to go to therapy. Do you feel like after you served, were you served as well?
I think it's one of those things where you'll never be the same again, right? But I think now we're more educated towards some of the resources that's available to us. And I think that's half the battle. You know what I'm saying? Just knowing what's available to you. And then the next thing, taking the steps to use those resources.
Got you.
Yeah.
It does take a lot of like dismantling of the pride to be able, like, you know, like I tell people all the time, man, I was like most men, I wouldn't ask for help. And my therapy was going to ayahuasca retreats. And the toughest lesson I had to learn was to ask for help in a situation, because, you know, like most guys, we suffer in silence. We ain't gonna ask for help, you know, like, and here we are, man. So I'm glad you came out on the better side of it, and congratulations on everything you got going on here. We got one of your clients get ready to pull up, brother Namdi outside. He's standing on the red carpet, so we're gonna holler at him, then we're gonna holler at y'all both together. Thank you so much, Blake, for keeping it trim and true, brother.
Likewise.
My guy. Easy, man. In the chair, we got the one, the only relationship expert, Namdi. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, man?
Man, you know, living.
Yes, sir.
Living, man. And man, listen, man, your energy is ready. It seems like you're in a happy space and place in life.
Blessed, bro.
Man, so for people who are seeing you for the first time, how would you describe yourself?
I describe myself as I guess a God-fearing man. I love the Lord, man, who loves my wife and my kids, man, who just want to live out purpose and impacting the world as much as I can. You know what I'm saying? By all the things that I've learned and helping them not go over some of the hurdles that I've crossed.
I think there was a philosopher of the late last century, Hove did that, so you wouldn't have to go through that.
That's one of my best things. I tell my 19-year-old daughter that, I'm like, baby girl, I did that. You don't got to go through that. Sometimes they still don't listen, though. That's the problem.
You know, as long as you just got to keep repeating. So all about the repetition.
Exactly.
So relationship expert is what you classify yourself as. So how
relationship coach.
Relationship coach. There we go. There we go. How did you find that, or did it find you?
It found me.
Okay.
Man, hold on. Listen, I did all the wrong things in relationships, man.
Those are the best
So
coaches.
actually what happened was, first I had a vision, it's probably like 2019 or something like that, of actually doing a podcast in my shower. And I told my wife, I don't know, we're supposed to do something. Let's just call it unqualified opinion or something like that. Just didn't feel qualified. And it wasn't even on relationships. It was just talking about current things, but giving it more of a Christian perspective on things. And so I was like, okay, we'll do that. And as we were doing it, one of the things our YouTube mentor said is that your crowd will tell you what they want. And we might have talked about something on relationship. I think it was about this Christian hip hop artist cheating or something, and everybody was going hard on him. And I'm like, man, hey, listen, he messed up. Give him, he has a penalty, but here, we've been through some stuff. Give him some grace here as well. And then it just continued to grow. We moved here to Atlanta, and one of our mentors who was coaching us on podcasting, she was like, yeah, that's definitely our lane. Like, fill it up. And we just continue to move down that lane, and people continue to come to us for advice and being able to coach couples privately.
Man, that's dope, the trial and error of it all. Because, because I know so many people who started podcasts and they're like, I've been doing it for so long and it hasn't caught fire. And I think that's the thing you said.
Yeah.
You got to try the different things to the audience responds with the, it's almost like having a metal detector. You move it around on the ground till you hear the beeps. The beeps is the engagement. And you found that. How long did it take before you really caught your groove, you think?
Man, I'll say that was probably a couple years or so. And I'll be honest with you, it still hasn't been as consistent as it needs to be as far as it goes. But we knew that was our lane pretty much about, I think it was like 6 months since we moved here, which was 2022. So at least by 2023, we knew, okay, this is the lane. I don't know why, Lord. Because obviously I went through the school of hard knocks. I did some dumb things, but God showed me, like, listen, those dumb things, that can help somebody else not do those dumb things as well. What you spend a decade doing, you can help them get in a few hours and bless their lives so they don't have to go through that same thing.
Absolutely. The thing about that, a lot of times, I know like sometimes people in the Christian sect get a bad rap for being judgmental, right? But, it just seems like far and large, you want to hear from people that have been through some things and know how the world works because, listen, man, it's in your darkest hour where God finds you and reveals himself to you,
yes,
and for you to be able to take the things that happen to you and use it to, put some positive energy into people's lives, man, that's very dope. And I'm glad it's being received as well.
Man, it's a blessing, man. It's a blessing just to, help people. I feel like a lot of times on mentoring, one of my mentors says, typically the people that you're going to help is your old self. So running into men who were just new in marriage, man, the first few years of my marriage was not beautiful. You know what I'm saying? We did a lot of things wrong on leading up to it. And I feel like a lot of couples do. You know what I'm saying? Like jumping into bed and doing more of that work versus doing the actual work of looking at each other, talking to each other, seeing about emotional health and where we at financially, background, things of that sort, man. And then you dealing with collateral damage of that time that you just spent mainly in the bed. Now you within that first year or two of marriage, man, y'all going at it with each other thinking that y'all picked the wrong one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And now you're uncovering things. So yeah, I usually end up with that guy who's in that situation, talking and walking them through that.
Man, and it's not easy work. Not on a personal level and helping the world because everybody's things and needs are different. Like these results may not necessarily work for you, but here's what happened to me. Hopefully you can apply the science.
Yeah.
So even when you think about like, the relationship with, you and, Blake, barber-wise, right?
Yeah.
Presentation, saying you got a look, you got an aesthetic. How did you find that look to help yourself stand out? Because like some of the most notable people have that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the look, like you talking about, like the cut and all that. Man, my wife, man, when I first got with my wife, man, I had a shorter cut. I still had the Nas part or whatever going on, and I had thought about growing out my beard. But crazy thing, I was with an ex, and I was thinking about growing out my beard. And I remember asking her, I was like, hey, I was thinking about growing out my beard. What you think? She's like, oh, you want to do that? I was like, oh, okay. I was like, all right, forget it. You know what I'm saying? And so I got with my wife. And I was like, man, this is one of these things I was thinking about growing out my beard. What you think? She said, heck yes, do that. That's going to be sexy. Oh, yeah, I love that. Do that. And then, eventually I had to, grow out my hair. It was more of a dermatologist situation that I had to grow out my hair. And then she was like, hey, you should put some dye with that. And she do that. So a lot of times my wife jokes about, she said, I upgraded you. She was like, that dude right there, he was whack. But the one that I made, he's on point. So yeah, man, I will give it to my wife, man. They say when you find a wife, you find favor, man. You find a good thing, man.
Yes,
I found
sir.
my good thing. I'm blessed. And she's like, hey, upgrade it, do the part like this, do it all like this. It's her working.
Well, she did a great job. The look is popping, man. Like, when's the last time you seen your chin?
My chin? I ain't seen it in a long time.
Me neither. I'm scared, man. I don't know, man.
She was like, hey, she said, hey, my wife said, she's like, hey, man, these cuts be saving a lot of y'all, the beards and everything. But, hey, I think that when you look at a lot of the old-time pictures, they all had big-time beards, man. So I think it's probably the way we supposed to be doing it.
Yeah, like, I mean, think about it. Like, biblically, there was very few, like, clean-shaven, like, you ain't see people with the Shamar Moore cut in the Bible. Like, everybody, like, had, like, that Philly... You know?
Exactly, bro.
Man, like, do you feel like confidence starts from the inside or the outside?
man, it starts from the inside. You definitely got to do that work inside. It's those private moments. It's kind of like, I was over and they gonna see the conversation that you had with Blake. It's that going to that therapy and dealing with some of those things that are blocking you from actually really seeing yourself fully and who you are and who God has called you to be and what he says about you versus some of the things the lies that you might have gotten from even sometimes from your mom and dad or those who supposedly love you, because those are people who can mess up your identity the most.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they got the biggest influence on you, man. So even with me, I've had to do that work, man. I had some childhood wounds, and my mama was a little rough. She was rough. God bless her soul. She's gone now, but man, had to go through some of that work so I can build my confidence up. And it's not an arrival, especially when it starts that young. You know what I'm saying? It's something that I continually have to work on and do my what we call daily office and getting in there with the Lord with my scriptures, praying, doing affirmations, and saying great things about myself.
How did you manage to tap into that? Because because a lot of people find their, and then I want to say balance, because sometimes what we feel balance us actually keeps us in balance. Like some people will, their therapy will be weed. Some people's therapy will be breath work, yoga. Some people go to the Bible. How did that find you? And how many other missteps did you take before you found what it was that gave you what you needed?
Well, I would say, as far as my faith, man, I found Christ in my teenage years, and I remember first getting baptized because I felt like I didn't want to go to hell, and I thought that was a thing, but I didn't really understand what I was actually doing at that time. I went along and still didn't live like a Christian. And I ended up having 2 kids, 2 different women outside of wedlock, doing whatever I wanted to do. Well, that's where the consequences came. And in my darkest hours, I remember my frat brother, he invited me to church. And the first time I went to a church, and this was 2009 or 10, somewhere around there. First time I went to a church and pastor had on Jordans. And mind you, back then, everybody still had on Steve Harvey suits, things of that sort. He had on Jordans. He had a banner on the wall that said, "Say no to whackness." Now, at that time, P. Diddy had a show called Making a Band, and he had a word called no
BS.
Right. And so I was like, hold on, what is this? And dude was breaking down scripture in a way that I could understand it. And he wasn't reading from the new King James version or the King James version. He's reading from NLT, NIV. I'm like, man, I actually understand this. Is in the scripture.
NLT, NIV.
New Living Translation.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's more of, I guess it's more translated in today's language.
Broken down. Okay.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I fully understood it. And again, I said, you know what, Lord, in 2012, I said, I'm going to really give you a chance. I've done this. I got collateral damage. I got drama with my kid's mom, out here. And I said, I'm going to give you my heart, my soul. I'm going to give you, my body. And I'm going to no longer, I tried, abstaining. And I did that for a season, for like a year. And I gave myself over to him. And during that time, I felt like I truly encountered God. Like being there when everybody was going to the club, and back then they was tweeting and they like, man, we had this, that, and other. And I'm like, man, I really want to go. But suffering in the faith, in my flesh is saying, you know what? Nah, I'm gonna stick to this. And man, I just, God just, showed himself to me. And I found him through just worshiping and praying and reading the word and getting closer with him. And that relationship is what brought me closer. And it's helped me out since then.
Man, that's phenomenal, man. And it speaks volumes too, because especially around that time you talk about the culture of the church did start to change, because once people got and some of the older generations will feel a certain way about it, like, no, you're supposed to wear your Sunday best every Sunday. But then also people forget the come as you are component, and whatever gets the most people in that building so they can catch that word, man. Don't be Heisman stiff-arming people who trying to come out there and get it. And I love the pastors that figure out a way to communicate to the young, because I think a lot of times it be lost in translation because they don't understand. Like there's a cultural language barrier that you think wouldn't exist because the words are the words, but Even seeing the no whackness, the way that pulled you in and made you lean in closer to the estate. He looked the pastor looked the part, all those things, man. Support him.
Yeah, because right now, even think about it, like culture is influencing everything. It even influences people that love the Lord.
Yeah.
Like the culture is getting to them right away as soon as they hit their phone. They're telling them what to think about relationships. A lot of this time, when I got fired up, because I didn't really want to do none of this relationship stuff, bro. Still to this day, I'm like, Lord, why? Like, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes, shoot, me and my wife still have issues sometimes, or we get into a little bit of a spat. We don't have no toxicity or anything like that, but I'm like, it's not perfect. So why do you want to use me in this? But then I look at a post where I see people talking about relationships in a whack way, and just like they playing with it. You got women saying crazy stuff from across the aisle, they calling out men, and it's like, do y'all really want oneness? Do y'all really want to find y'all purpose and live and thrive together? Or y'all just want to talk about each other and play around and sleep around and think that it's something's gonna change? It's not gonna change until you change.
Yeah.
You're attracting it because it's you. You know what I'm saying? And so I get fired up about it. It's like, nah, man, you know what? Babe, we got to get out here and we got to do something.
Reignite the purpose.
We got to get out here and we got to speak to our people.
So even in the relationship coach space, what's the biggest things that people, I guess, misinterpret about attraction? You know what I'm saying? Mental, physical, even emotional for that matter. Like, what's the hierarchy and what are important in which order?
I feel like number one is attraction. Physical.
Physical, okay.
Hey, man, I tell brothers especially, because men, we're attracted to what we see. It's like, bruh, get you somebody who on 90% of the time, like 90% of the time when you go out on her worst day, she's still colder than what you're going to see out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, we have I guess a little bit more of a pick on that. Women, on the other hand, it should also be that, but they don't have as much of an emphasis on it. But I think if you're gonna be with this person for life and things are gonna start to sag and go down and all, you understand? You wanna like what you're gonna see. So I feel like the physical is gonna be the first thing from there. And then it's gonna be the spiritual aspect. Okay, do we align with the same thing? Like as far as faith, okay, if you a Muslim and I'm a Christian, like that's not going to mesh well. We're going to continue to be at each other's head because we don't have the same belief system. And then not even that, we could be two Christians that think different in that aspect. You understand? Or you're more into this type of pastor. I think nowadays, because pastors got so much influence, we got to make sure we on alignment with who's the type of teaching that we like to hear from. So the spiritual, then the mental, and so on and so forth from there. So yeah, I believe that number one though, that physical. I was watching something here recently with my wife. Love is Blind. We was getting to that.
Yo, man, I feel like I'm one of the 5% of people in the world that is not watching that show. Like, man, I was having an argument with somebody that was like, it's like, I ain't watching it. I hate reality shows. The last one I watched like that was Real Chance at Love.
Yeah.
Or VH1.
I'm telling you, man. But one of the things is when they reveal themselves to each other and they come through, they walk through this aisle, it's like they've been talking behind this wall since you haven't seen it. And then they eventually, propose and they never still seen them. And right away, no matter how much they connected emotionally and mentally, like some of the same things, as soon as you see that person, we always call it like, ooh, he don't like her.
Ooh.
He don't like her. She, ooh, that ain't her type. And they plays out, they laugh, they smile, and about a few episodes later, they're breaking up. Or they get down to the part where they say, is love truly blind? They like, nah, no, it ain't blind. I saw you and I feel different now. So
it's a social experiment with the ratings.
Yes,
apparently.
Yes.
Yo, man, when you get out of that barber's chair, what does that do for your mental well-being and just your confidence overall?
Listen to 1,000. You understand? Man, getting the right man. So a lot of people can call me whatever, shallow or whatever, man. I believe, and I see a lot of talk about why are barbers charging X, Y, and Z nowadays? Man, it's something about a good fresh cut that can make you feel like a whole new man. I promise you, when I leave here with Blake, I feel like a whole new dude. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember being here in Atlanta area because I'm from Kansas City, Missouri originally. And I had a really nice barber. He was Patrick Mahomes' barber. So like I came from like luxury barbering, okay? Coming here and getting my line pushed back several times. Or going into a barbershop where it's just raggedy talk. we talking about LeBron's stats and Michael Jordan and all this mess, or we talking bad about women, and I don't want to hear all that. And finding this brother right here who is about precision. I'm talking about he see a speck. Shoot, I won't see something. He'll be like, hold on, bro. Hold on, sit back down. Let me get that. Hold on. I know, brother. So I'm seeing you on camera the other day on your pod. I seen something I don't want to change about something right. I'm missing this. Like having somebody with that level of quality and what they do, you step out of this type of seat. I don't know about other barber seats, but I'm just talking about when it comes down to Blake. When you step out of this seat, man, woo, you the man. You can go conquer the world. At least that's how I feel.
Man, and that's the most important part. If it makes you feel that way, like you want to stay locked in with with that energy, man.
I travel over here about an hour and 30 minutes just to get to him. Most people think you crazy for doing that.
That speaks volumes. So, and the crazy thing is, he's a mobile barber, you still travel an hour just to meet him halfway.
Yes,
like
sir.
You respect the relationship that much.
Sure,
like we talked about everything except the name of your podcast.
Okay, yeah. So it's under the Iwebu's. My last name. Nigerian Iwebu's, Iwegbu, S on there. So the Iwebu's, my wife and I, her name is Coach TK, Takesha Iwebu. And so yeah, we call it Pillow Talking with the Iwebu's. So if you go on YouTube, you'll see it under the Iwebu's. In the session that you want to look for is Pillow Talking with the Iwebu's.
Now, you mentioned being Nigerian. Do you go to Nigeria much?
Unfortunately, I have not even been, man. During my childhood, my dad did a lot of bringing others here, and so and then when I got to my adult life, I moved too quick. I had kids, and so I started getting bills and kids. I got 4 girls. So you know what I'm saying? Life just started moving, and I haven't been back, but looking forward to going here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I'm a 23andMe Nigerian.
Okay.
Like I found out late in life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
What's the percentage?
Like 47.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I had no idea. I immediately started composing emails.
Really?
I have some money for you.
Come on, for real, man. My Nigerian brother.
Get down with the trade. But I've heard so many beautiful things about Nigeria, man. And, like I just always ask people that are from there, because I hear about Lagos and some of the other areas, man. But, like, I really want to go lock in, man. Because, like, we was talking off camera about family reunions, and like we barely could make it to South Carolina good, you know what I'm saying, to see the people, but to go back to the source where the soil is at, where we from, man, it hit different, man, and I hope we all get to do that, man.
For sure.
But yo, listen, man, Blake got some work to do with you, and I want to talk to y'all both, man. I mean, you're not wolfing out yet. It's not full moon status. We on the way, but yeah, we always talk to y'all both, man. But thank you so much, Nami,
thank you, bro,
for keeping it trim and true, and thank you so much for what you do for the culture, man. For real, man. I can't wait to lock in with the podcast, for real.
Please check it out, man.
Will do, King. God bless.
Right on.
All right, man. The dynamic duo is locked in. We're in the shot. From the beginning of it, how did y'all two meet?
So my guy, Jermaine, he's one of my business partners, man. He told me about Blake. He was like, man, it's a guy who I go to, and if he wants a really nice, precise cut, really clean, say you should try him out. Came here and never looked back. That's what's
up. He gave you the best compliment too, Blake. Nami said that that you actually watch his show just to see how the cut comes across on camera. And not every barber pays that level of attention to detail. Do you do that for every client?
Man, so one thing about it is when I cut someone's hair, I cut that head 1,000 times. Because I go back and I look at everything that I could have done different. And like I said, my mind never stops working. So it sticks with me. So by the time I see that person again, I'm like, okay, I want to do this different than how we did this last time. So a lot of times they mess with me about, Blake, you don't put out content. Like you always getting pictures, you always doing this, but you don't put it out. And I'm like, I'm my biggest critic. I'm like, because if I see one thing I don't like, I ain't putting it out. And I know that's not how content works, but that's just how I am, man.
No, I understand the psychology. That's just way more than I should. Like, it's hard to not take pride in your work to the point to where you feel like it's never good enough, but the average person be like, yo, what are you talking about?
Yep.
Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
When you think back, on like historical haircuts throughout time, what has been like, all right, we'll start with you, Blake. What was like the haircut you wanted as a kid? Like somebody who you idolized their style?
Man, I think it was a rapper, Kwame. I think Kwame, he wore the polka dots.
Yes, sir.
Kwame had the dopest haircut back in the day, man. So I think when I started cutting Namdi had the patch. I was like, that's my Kwame right there, man.
Yo, he
Dope.
just dropped an album like 6 months ago.
Really?
And it's good.
Oh, wow.
It's really good. It's really good. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see the influence too. Yo, I wanted to get the dye in my hair so bad as well growing up, because I had a high top fade longer than anyone should have. But I was never brave enough to go the extra mile and do the dye, you know what I mean? Because it's like, how do we maintain this? I just didn't know, you know. Namdi, for you, what was that iconic hairstyle?
Man, I would say for me, back in the day, I don't know if I had I'd say probably it's probably a split. Nas with the cut, with, as you can see, as I got the moon, half moon, whatever, part, and also like the Tupac and Juice. That whole deal there, like him and Omar Epps and stuff. Like I used to watch that stuff like on repeat, and I'm like, man, dog, I'd be like DJ Q or something, man. Like I want to be like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I would embody that a little bit, man. So yeah, those are the two.
Yo, I used to watch that movie every day before I went to school because it was about almost a clean 90 minutes.
Yeah,
and it was very achievable. Like that, they were style icons for me. Like like hip hop film just made such a impact on, and I mean the culture as a whole. You know, I think a lot of times when people think about like people's hairstyles that they admire or body, it's usually somebody from the 90s or like late 80s who like did something like dope and iconic, and like both of those like hammer right on the nail, man, for real.
Yeah, everything that we bringing back now came from those.
90s was a dope time, man.
It was.
Yeah.
It's crazy, you know, this comes up a lot in the show too. Like, you know, we do go back to the 90s, but we don't go back to like 86, 87 with the Jerry curl. Like, no one has brought that back. Were y'all ever victims of the Jerry curl trend?
I wasn't old enough.
You missed a bullet. You probably still have more hair than most people because of it.
Yeah, my dad had it.
Does he have hair now?
He still got hair.
He hanging in?
It's low cut, but he still got hair. Yep.
Strong Nigerian roots.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
What's a hairstyle y'all never want to see come back again?
A style I never want to see come back again.
Man, I don't know. I mean, probably what you just said, Jerry curl. I don't think that was too dope myself. And then I don't know. I rather people do kind of what I do. This is not typically how I have my hair. I sponge it and all that. Versus, I don't know, braids. It used to be a big thing, and it's still here, but you don't see people do it as much. So, I mean, they cool, but I think it's better stylish things with twists and locks.
Easy to get out of too, you know.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's just the bowl cut, man. You know, yeah.
But give me an example of a guy with the black guy bowl cut.
I'm talking about the one where you just skint it around, didn't even make an attempt on putting in the fade. You know, a lot of us had them, you know, not us, but, you know, a lot of people had them back, you know, in their younger years, you know. But yeah, I think the bowl cut, man, they can kind of keep that where it's at.
I instantly go to Friar Tuck. I think it's somebody who got the bowl cut from back in the day. You know, when you think about, you know, overall, like, you know, like a time where a haircut has changed the outcome of something, not necessarily just mood, right? What's a time, I'll start with you, Blake. What's a time where you've given a client a haircut that got him a job or set him up to where like, oh, that first date went great because they look like they top-notch version of themselves?
So I think that's a part of that good barber to great barber, right? I feel like when you become a great barber, you become a part of people's lives. So you see everything from, I remember I did a guy, I did his proposal. I think I did his wedding. He was a Nigerian. They had like 4 different weddings. So, you know, like, you know, I mean, just to be a part of people's life, you know, the new jobs, you know, you just constantly hearing stories, right? And I think for me, you know, like whenever somebody come back in and you able to ask them, hey man, so did you get that job? You know what I'm saying? And they're like, yeah, I did. You know what I'm saying? And thanks to you, you know, because I went in there and I looked like somebody, right? So, you know, I mean, I think it's just, you know, those types of things that you hear over and over again. I think that's just a part of our responsibility as a barber.
Yeah,
Word.
yeah. And having the type of cut that I have now, and I think that's what it stood out. Like for instance, we were somewhere downtown not too long ago, and my daughter was in town, and this guy just like honks, and he said, "Hey, y'all the UA And we like, yeah. Now, mind you, we don't got like a crazy following like that yet, and so like, yeah, he's like, oh, okay, man, love y'all podcast, and it was like the reason why he noticed was because of the patch, the cut that he's used to seeing there, man. So it makes me stand out. Like it's like I know him because I seen that patch, I seen that cut right there.
Yeah, man. Like, I mean, the branding is part of it. In addition to the brand, the look is also part of the branding. You know, like you guys both change so much for people, like through your, you know, your coaching narrative, through your, you know, your visual aesthetic, and even just the words that you put in your clients' ears. What's something that you guys both learn from each other?
Man,
You gonna go first?
like, man, learning from what I've learned from him, man, is to level of excellence. You understand, like the way that Blake does anything, man. Just how he makes sure the cleanliness of what he does here, um, listening. Dude, this dude's a great listener to everything because I'm a talker. You know, I'm a talker. So I'll be like, should we be in here? And also the art of questions. This brother could be an interviewer because his brother be in here and he'd be like, I'll say something. He said, and he'll have a great follow-up question. Like, low key, you can have a podcast. Right? Hey, I gave you that, bro. Remember that. Remember I gave you that. Because he sit there and he'll be like, okay, so let me ask you this. He'll ask you this. And I'll be like, dang, okay, I'm getting some like target practice on actually doing interviewing in a way because he does that, man. So just the way he does everything with excellence, man, looking at it, going back, it's just like me going back and looking at our podcast and saying, babe, I do too much of that. I need to cut that out. I got to do better on saying this and X, Y, and Z, man. The precision in my work. Learned that from that guy.
That's dope, man. I appreciate that, bro.
That's all good, bro.
That's like a in real time Yelp review.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
for
right.
real.
Yeah. I think one of the things about this brother right here that I really appreciate was he came into my life in a season when I was going through something in my personal life, right? And nobody really knew about it. You know what I'm saying? But just the conversations that we would have, just to see him and how he navigated, you know, his marriage. You know what I'm saying? Seeing the love that he just put on public display for his wife. You know, I really admired that about him. You know, a lot of times in the barbershop, we don't really hear guys talk about how much they love their wife, right? A lot of times we see, you know, guys, you know, running after the female that passed by the window or something, right? But, you know, with this brother right here, you know, just experiencing his admiration for his wife, I'm like, man, like black love is a real thing.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? We don't hear that a lot of times. You know, we look at social media and things like that, they'll make us think that we always at each other, right? But when you have brothers like this and some of the other brothers that come in here and, you know, they're talking about their family and their kids and so forth, you know, I really appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? Because we're able to share stories. We're able to bounce off of one another, right? And, you know, he's just been a huge blessing in my life, bro.
Yeah. Man, appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate that word, brother.
Nah, man, it's dope to be able to even be transparent about what we do for each other. You know what I mean? Because like sometimes, you know, relationships that we may have with people are so transactional. To be able to really feel like you grow with somebody, or like, you know, you look forward to the conversation in addition to the service as well, man. It speaks volumes.
Yeah, this is to me, this is a part of fellowshipping, man. You know what I'm saying? I get with a fellow brother in Christ and just like sitting here and just actually talking and getting that out, and like, okay, some men stuff that you just, you know what I'm saying, you get to conversate about some of the experiences that he had and everything, bouncing it back and forth of, you know, different things that happen in our life, man. It's truly a blessing. Definitely.
What's something that you you live by, as far as like a mantra, a quote, you know, something that's like your North Star no matter what's going on or what phase of life you in?
Yeah. Mine's would be that Romans 8:28, you know, God will work all things together for your good. In short form of saying it, He works all things out for your good. So no matter what is going on at this time, it could be the worst situation. When you look back in hindsight, you're gonna be like, he did that for a reason, man, and he brought me through that season. So yeah,
Love that.
So I think mine would be strive hard. If you're gonna do something in life, you should do it so well that no man living, no man dead, no man yet to be born can do it better.
Short and to the
Love
point,
it.
man. Yo, man, y'all dropped unlimited jewels, man, like a clumsy jewel thief, man. Like, all through the episode, man. One more time, Namdi, plug the podcast. Tell people how they can tap in with the brand.
Yeah, so the Ewegbus, THE, and Ewegbus, IWEGBUS. So you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, all your social media platforms. We do Pillow Talking with the Ewegbus, typically on Thursday. So that's how you can find us on the Spotify's, everything, the Ewegbus.
Love that, man. Blake Pro, how can people get you to get that executive pull up in their driveway, man?
Right. So I'm Blake Pro on all platforms. You can go to my website, blakepro.com. You can book your appointments there. You book the appointment, I'm gonna handle the rest. Our motto is where quality meets convenience, and that's what we strive for every day.
Yo, man, well, thank y'all both for operating in the spirit of excellence. Win, lose, or draw, getting to it and through it, man. And as always, thank y'all so much for keeping it trim and true.
Yes, sir.
So right now, I'm really into the TPOB line. They made it really convenient for a barber like myself, being mobile. As you can see right here, I got the cordless charger. And it just, the feel of the clippers, they're powerful, they're quiet, they have a pretty good run time. Just the power of the clippers, I'm able to, cut bulk with no problem. So these are all, things that I really keep near and dear to me because they make my job a whole lot easier. Like I said, the trimmer line is, strong trimmers. I'm able to do a nice crisp line with those, as well as the actual clippers themselves. Makes fading a lot easier for me.
You broke that all the way down, man. You nailed it.
Yeah.
That's a wrap for episode 25 of Trim and True with Blake Pro ATL and Namdi. Today's conversation showed us that a cut is never just about appearance. It's about confidence, communication, and the connections we build along the way. Big love to everyone supporting the culture, the barbershop community, and the real conversations that make this platform special. I'm Head Crack, and we'll see you next time on Trim and True.